Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mickelson, your host, speaking at you from Monday, April 20th, 2026 in the space and time continuum. And there are a lot of things going on. It's, of course, maddening, but a lot of funny things too, and a lot of just demonstrations of stupidity by the people that we always predict are going to show their stupidity even more, but it's just getting so over the top. It came out very recently. I mean, there's news just today, but very recently it came out that Trump was actually essentially locked out of the Situation Room during those quote-unquote rescues that happened a couple weeks ago. We talked a lot about those quote-unquote rescues on this show over the last couple episodes. That's not really what I'm talking about, but whatever they were doing in those missions, Donald Trump was kept out of the Situation Room by the top generals because he's just too erratic. Also, Admiral Brad Cooper, he's the head of CENTCOM, Central Command. He has been saying what Trump wants him to say in public, but he's just, and I think I mentioned this last week too, but he's just going right up to the point where he's not really lying, but he's also not doing what Trump is telling him to do. The blockade, not so much a blockade, and it's just like, the strait is open, the strait is closed, Iran opened the strait, we closed the strait, now the strait is open, Iran is closing the strait. And it's just playing with the stock market. Everyone knows it at this point. It's just so disgusting. But also unsustainable, really, I think. We keep talking about when is this going to happen? When is this going to collapse? And there are some very interesting things going on behind that I do want to mention. What else is going on? The Kash Patel thing. Yes, today he did file a suit against The Atlantic for defamation for $250 million. He actually did it. He said he was going to do it yesterday on TV, and I predicted, no, he's not actually going to do it. He's going to talk to lawyers, and they're going to say, dude, you don't want to do this. But he did it anyway. Sarah Fitzpatrick, the reporter who wrote it, is standing behind it. There are more than 24 sources that Sarah Fitzpatrick used. She also asked for White House reaction and noted that the White House didn't deny any of the parts of the story. If you hadn't heard about the story, Kash Patel, it starts actually with Kash Patel being so paranoid that he's about to get fired that he had trouble signing in using his password into an account online. And it turned out to just be some stupid technical problem. It was probably him getting his password wrong or something. But the first thing he did was panicked. And he started to contact people saying, I've just been fired by the White House. And then somebody came walking by and said, dude, just let me try your password again. Oh, okay, I'm in. Yeah, you're not fired by the White House. Take it easy, man. And part of the reason he thinks he's going to get fired is maybe because he knows how drunk he is all the time, apparently, which Sarah Fitzpatrick goes on to report, again with more than 24 sources, about him being so indisposed they could not contact him when he was in, I guess, his apartment behind a locked door. They couldn't wake him up by pounding on the door. They ordered like things that the SWAT team uses, like that big battering ram and stuff. And they were going to break into his house. They thought he might be dead. They didn't know. But Sarah Fitzpatrick also points out in an interview she did, these people usually sleep with their cell phone on their chest because they're expecting to get woke up at any moment, which also means you don't even get drunk at 3 a.m. We have Kash Patel on video acting like a monkey guzzling a beer with the other ape monkeys in the Olympic hockey team. It's clear that that's kind of like a frat boy getting super hammered with his other frat boy buddies. And he is the head of the FBI, and he was there on our taxpayer money. Now, in this article, it talks about him being super drunk during the weekends in some bar in Las Vegas and then some bar in D.C. during the week. And a lot of times they had to cancel or postpone meetings to make them later in the day because he was too hungover to even do the meeting. And so a lot of drinking and a lot of not being available when we are under a lot of threats that the FBI is supposed to be keeping us safe from. Now that he's suing, it's going to go through something called discovery. We've all heard about this by now. It's funny because we didn't really hear about it until Donald Trump came in the mix, and now we all know how the legal system works. We know what discovery means. It's going to be, so Mr. Patel, were you at this club in Las Vegas on Saturday night, the April the 18th or whatever? And he's going to have to answer under oath. Do you have access to the receipts from that night? Because we have the receipts. And you spent this much money there that night. Was that all just on yourself? Or, blah, blah, blah. Did you have to cancel that meeting on the morning of February 23rd because you were too hungover? He has to answer now. So that's how dumb he is. He actually went through with it. That's how dumb he is. It's just incredible. Another funny thing that happened just today, apparently, the White House Correspondents' Dinner is coming up this weekend, I think on Saturday night. Donald Trump never goes to it because it's humiliating for him. But this year, for some reason, he's like, oh, they want me to come. I'm going to go. I'm going to be there. Thank you for inviting me. Nobody knows why he all of a sudden is going. I guess somebody must have flattered him enough, Well, at this, the Wall Street Journal is going to be awarded some sort of award in like courage in reporting for them reporting on that birthday note that Donald Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein. And when they win that award, normally the president shakes their hand. And just today it was announced that, when Melania heard about the Wall Street Journal getting that award about Epstein, she wants to go with him. I don't know, apparently to witness the humiliation. What's going to happen on Saturday night? Saturday night. What's going to happen? It's going to be, maybe I'll actually watch it live this year. Probably not. But what else? Oh, my God. Iran's saying they're not showing up. Apparently they're sending J.D. Vance today, along with, again, Jared Kushner and Bradley Witkoff. Is that his name? Bradley Witkoff, whatever his name is. And, it didn't work last time. I don't know why they're sending him this time. But this time, Iran is saying, no, we're not showing up. You're not going along with anything that we agreed to before, and nothing has changed. We're not showing up. There's no reason for us to show up. Frankly, I'm getting sick of paying for J.D. Vance to fly back and forth for no good reason. This Iran excursion. No, it's not an excursion, sir. It's, anyway. We had to take a little journey. That's what he calls it now, too. Little journey to Iran. And it's just, but you already know about that. Here's an interesting thing. We were talking with some relatives and also some friends, and it's interesting how people are talking about things like, was the assassination attempt on Donald Trump fake? Now, it's confusing because apparently a person really did die, And apparently that person's wife is really pissed off that there's no investigation going on this matter. I'm going to read to you some stuff here about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She stokes Trump assassination plot rumors. Marjorie Taylor Greene writes, "I'm not calling the Butler assassination a hoax, but there are a lot of questions that deserve public answers. I'm asking, why won't Trump release the information about Matthew Crooks, the supposed gunman? Did he actually act alone? If not, who is behind him and who helped him? And why cover this up?" Former Georgia Congresswoman and one-time Donald Trump ally Marjorie Taylor Greene has joined the disgruntled group of MAGA stalwarts, raising questions about the assassination attempt on the president when he was running for office in 2024. Quote, "President Trump, of all people, should be leading the charge to determine all the facts of what happened that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. Why isn't he?" Greene demanded. "That's the question." Questions were raised at the time, largely by the left, about the incident. Now, an increasing number of one-time Trump supporters are arguing that the attempt was staged by the president to win votes in a hard-fought election. They have offered no evidence, and the federal task force report concluded the shooting was as it appeared. But Greene directed her followers on X this last Saturday to carefully read her lengthy repost by Tricia Hope. Tricia Hope is a former GOP National Convention delegate from Texas. "Extremely important post worth the read and consideration," Greene wrote. "Corey Comparatore's family deserves to know the truth about Matthew Crooks and what happened in Butler on July 13th, 2024. That's the guy who supposedly died." This woman, Hope, she wrote in her post that her first red flag about the shooting was Trump's vow at the Republican convention just days later that he would tell the story of what happened just once and never speak about it again because it was too painful. When people tell a lie, certainly a big one, it's tough to keep all the details straight. This is still Hope writing. In my opinion, Trump made that statement to stop any further conversation about what happened. We all know no one loves Trump more than Trump. This, to me, felt completely out of character. She also found it odd that Trump didn't aggressively go after the Secret Service agents who had failed to stop the shooting. The president promoted one of them, Sean Curran, to be director of the Secret Service shortly after his election, praising Curran for risking his life to help save mine from an assassin's bullet. 6 agents were suspended after the assassination by the Biden administration attempt following a review by the Department of Homeland Security, which concluded that law enforcement breakdowns left Trump vulnerable. Trump's iconic photo also struck Hope as too coincidentally press-ready. Really? As the agents crouched around him, leaving his head exposed, even though others would-be assassins may have been hiding in the crowd, she added. She claims Comparatore was sacrificed to make the attempt deadly serious. If you cannot look at this story and use critical thinking skills and have at least some questions, you are the problem and we need you to snap out of it, Hope concluded. Greene's repost of Hope's claims attracted nearly 1,000 comments in a matter of hours. Some referred to John Hinckley Jr.'s assassination attempt on President Reagan in 1981, when Secret Service agents immediately hurled him into the presidential limo, shielding him with their bodies. One was struck by a bullet. So this is writing in the Daily Beast. They've reached out to the White House for comment. Of course, they have not received a reaction. Talking to people that just I know personally, everybody is questioning this. And the right wing, the MAGAs, they know about ballistics, as does Frank Figliuzzi, an ex-FBI agent who appears on mainstream media all the time, mostly on MSNBC. I guess now it's called MS Now. He's a very respected ex-FBI agent. He's asked on this show for his expertise. I saw him on a podcast talking about the fact that this bullet, it doesn't graze your ear and not leave a mark. As a matter of fact, if it gets too close enough to your head to graze your ear, your whole head is going to have some damage. at least a concussion, probably hearing loss, just from the sound of the bullet going by your ear. And also, somebody that I know personally pointed out that in wrestling, which we all know is fake, professional wrestling on TV, they do this thing where you have something sharp in your right hand and then you put it to your ear. And it'll cut your ear so that some blood will come. That's exactly what Trump looked to be doing. And then now you see his ear. There's absolutely no damage. It healed a gunshot wound. And people have pointed out that cartilage does not reproduce itself. So anyway, it's amazing to me, though, how regular people are questioning this. Regular people, I would say most regular people, think that this was fake. They also think the Charlie Kirk thing was not as it's reported and wonder why I don't think hardly anyone, none of these ballistic MAGA people believe that kid shot Charlie Kirk. Also, I'm surprised by how people say Donald Trump's, he's going to die soon, it looks like. And if that's not the case, he should be taken out soon for some other reason. But I still don't think J.D. Vance is going to be president. Regular people are, that's how things work. So why do people feel this way? Are other people catching up to this whole, we need a whole different type of system? There's been some extremely interesting forward movement on that this week. Extremely interesting in the wording of it and other things. I want to talk about that when we come back from a short break. You're listening to A Satellite View. We'll be right back. And we're back on A Satellite View. Find our website, satelliteviewpodcast.com. Go to YouTube and search for Satellite View Podcast. Find our YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's free. You can also find me at Todd Mickelson on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, and other places. Now, I'll tell you a couple quick things that is good news in some ways. Just today, just this morning, Monday, the 20th of April, 100 veterans and family members of veterans and current service members in the Middle East showed up and protested in Washington, D.C. They were all arrested, even though some of them were disabled veterans. That's pretty incredible. The video of it is pretty incredible. They're doing all these ceremonial things that the veterans do and that the military does. It's pretty incredible. It's really incredible. These are, military members protesting against this military action that's actually a war. And they're showing up and they're willing to get arrested. So good for them. Also, there are more things happening with energy and money. There is a group called Patriotic Millionaires in New York. Their main thing is, please tax us more. The current system is unsustainable. The current system of capitalism and the way it's being done in the United States is unsustainable, so says these patriotic millionaires. There are other groups of millionaires and billionaires who are doing this similar thing around the country. The power of the people. Even if you're a millionaire and billionaire, and if you're doing this, good for you. I make a fair amount of money, and I don't mind that I'm taxed what I'm taxed. I do mind that a lot of people who make way more money than me are taxed less than I am. Not just percentage-wise, but sometimes actual amount of money. So things are shifting, and I want to talk about another major shift that I talked about on this show a little bit. You've heard me say that Kamala Harris says the system is broken. It needs to be rebuilt. And I will say to you, decide what you want our system to be. Because we're going to remake it. We're going to be in charge of rebuilding it. Now, what does that mean? Coupled up with people saying, I don't think J.D. Vance is going to be president. I also don't think Donald Trump is going to be president for the next 3 years. I don't think he's going to get it all the way through his current term. But I also think the current vice president is not going to become president. There's a lot of talk growing about the 25th Amendment. Some of the things that I have been talking about is, what if there was some sort of committee? Now, I talked about it less on this show than I've talked about it just personally. It's because I'm not sure exactly what would it be. I don't want to get people's hopes up. I don't want to go off in too much of a tangent. Now, you know that I believe that the 2024 election was stolen from Kamala Harris. More and more people are believing that as well. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. What would a whole different system of government be like? I've talked about maybe we don't need the White House anymore. The White House is not up to date. We need something different, something better than our systems. Our courts aren't working. We're finding vulnerabilities everywhere. We can't just fix. A couple weeks ago, I said, if you're going to have the best possible house and you just bought a house that's 100 years old and you want to make the best house, the best way to do it is to tear that house completely down and start from nothing and build the best possible new house. Don't try and refurbish the 100-year-old house and build around it and expect it to be any better than the 100-year-old house was. The outdated house that you want to replace. Is that what we need to do with our government? Some of the language used was, it may be some sort of committee made up of past presidents and past elected officials, past vice presidents. I want you to listen closely to what Representative Jamie Raskin is explaining in this short TikTok clip here. The woman you're going to hear is Representative Melanie Stansbury. This is a short clip of them standing in front of the Capitol building outdoors in Washington, D.C., just a couple days ago.
We are here with the esteemed ranking member of our Judiciary Committee, the great constitutional scholar, Jamie Raskin. And today you filed a bill that many of us co-sponsored. Tell us a little bit about this bill.
The 25th Amendment, which everybody's talking about, is all about continuity in office and the stability of the government. And the first provision is about what happens if the presidency is vacant. The second provision is about what happens if the vice presidency is vacant. The third provision I think of as the colonoscopy provision, because it says that the president can voluntarily, temporarily turn over power. But there's another little known part which says, or the vice president and a body set up by Congress can make the same judgment. And since 1967, Congress has never set up the other body called for by the Constitution in the 25th Amendment. And so we're setting that body up.
And I just want to emphasize that this is really about Congress asserting its constitutional authority. The 25th Amendment was established after JFK died. It set up and clarified the line of succession if a president is incapacitated. Many of us feel like he is incapacitated in the present moment, but it's not clear what happens if the president contests a vice president or cabinet's call on him to step down. And this is really about Congress asserting our authority under the 25th Amendment and saying we'll create a bipartisan body that will ultimately make that determination. It would require a cognitive test. What else would it require?
The new body at least would interpose some objectivity. It would be composed of doctors, psychiatrists, cognitive scientists, but also veterans of the executive branch of government, former presidents, vice presidents, attorneys general, secretaries of defense, treasury, surgeon generals, and so on. So it calls for those people to be able to meet in the event of a real crisis. It's serious business. This is not just for Donald Trump. This is a permanent standing body that should have been set up long ago so we can rectify that oversight and also deal with a very serious crisis as that people are flipping out all over the country. So people are upset about it and we need to deal with the problem.
So how does that sound to you? Does that sound like a temporary new setup, a different way for when President Trump is taken out of power? A temporary setup so that we have continuity of government, but this body will make decisions instead of just one person, instead of just one president. This body would make decisions, at least temporarily, until we figure out what we want in this country. I thought that was very interesting. To me, it's surprise, but no surprise. I and other people I know have been kind of contemplating that something different is going to happen, something that we've not imagined before, something that hasn't happened before, something unprecedented. Is this the beginning of that? In reality, here in the third dimension, is this the beginning of that? It's very interesting. I want to go through headlines of Ukraine and Russia because that keeps going on and on. On the Jason J. Smart, 5 days ago, Russia is collapsing fast. It just got worse. 6 days ago, they are out of tanks. A frontline breach now hits Moscow 4 days ago, meaning the war has hit Moscow. That's been going on for a while, but it's getting even worse. Putin's safe haven just got breached 3 days ago. 2 days ago, Belarus front opens. Putin shut out. Kremlin split explodes over Putin. That's talking about another headline that I'm going to go through from Anna from Ukraine. That's from 1 day ago. From 2 hours ago, a sea route obliterated. Putin just lost the Black Sea. Now let's go to Anna from Ukraine. And she's talking about Putin's last gold. Putin is selling Russia's last gold reserves. She has all the numbers and everything. If you find Anna from Ukraine, that video came out just about an hour ago. She's also talking about the new military alliance. Germany, Italy, Norway are helping in drones in Ukraine. They're helping Ukraine develop their drones that they have been manufacturing for the last few months and absolutely kicking Russia's ass with those drones. Germany, Italy, Norway, and other North American or Northern Hemisphere countries and even some other countries are helping Ukraine more and more because they want to learn from Ukraine, because Ukraine is really the only breakthrough 21st century war power right now. They're doing everything in a brand new way. They don't have soldiers on the ground. They have drone pilots sitting somewhere safely working the drones. While Russia, in March, lost 35,351 soldiers on the ground. Putin disconnected from reality. CEOs are coming out. Business people are coming out against the Kremlin in Russia more and more. Those are headlines going on over there in Ukraine and Russia right now. While over here, all of a sudden, Trump thinks we should legalize LSD because Joe Rogan mentioned it. It's like, hello, is this Donald Trump? This is John Lennon. I wish that I don't like what you're doing in Ukraine, but I wish you'd legalize LSD. We'd maybe even let you use our song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, maybe for something like the opening of your ballroom or something like that. I just got a call from the great John Lennon. I don't like what he did in Russia years ago where he killed billions of people. I didn't like that. But then he went on to write great songs like Lucy is sly with diamonds, something like Lucy's got a sly diamond, something like that. A great song. He went on to write great songs. He's a great guy. I asked Melania, the movie star Melania, what she thought, and she said she said, darling, you should listen to John Lennon because people who were young a long time ago really like him. You should listen to him. And it took a long time for that to get through because I can't understand her. She knows 7 languages, but English is not one of them. I can't understand a word
when she's talking to me. And so it took a long time for me to get it. But I think we're gonna have John Lennon at the opening of the ballroom singing Lucy's with her sly digits, the song. Because if you look at that song, the first three letters it's called LSD. LSD, something we want to legalize here. I talked to Oz, I called RFK, and everyone's saying you should listen to John Lennon. He's a great guy. I've never met him, but he's a great guy.
Yeah, so this is what he's focusing on. LSD, the ballroom. He's supposed to be running a war. And by the way, all the experts were saying that Iran was collapsing before that war. It wasn't going to last even probably this long. Now the IRGC, the military, has taken over. So the people that we're talking to, which we're not able to because they're not showing up, but the people like Jared Kushner and J.D. Vance talked to last week, they're not even really in charge. They can make a deal, but then the military is ruled by the hardliners, the IRGC. They're not listening to those guys. So the whole thing is just a stupid mess. And he's talking about John. Well, he didn't actually talk about John Lennon. That was me. I can't do an imitation of Joe Rogan. And as you heard, possibly my imitation of John Lennon was probably not the greatest either. I haven't done it for a long time. Anyway, we got to have fun with this stuff, right? We got to at least try to have fun with this stuff because it's so absurd. It is a comedy act. It's more absurd than the comedy. Yeah, anyway, I covered almost everything that I had written in my notes. A lot going on. Most of it is absolute stupidity. Make sure you take care of yourself. Don't look at it too much. But things are changing, believe it or not, for the better. Congress is trying to do things, and they're starting to get creative. Wow. I can't wait to see what happens there. Trump has disappeared again. There's nothing on his schedule for today, apparently. What's going on, we don't know. At any given time, he's going to disappear permanently for one reason or another. And we're coming closer and closer to it all the time. I think people are feeling it. People can see this is not sustainable. But we got to stick together to stay sane. So thank you so much for sticking here with me. Remember, I'm here with you. Come and see me next week. And thank you so much for being with me here this week. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mickelson. Go to toddmickelson.com for links and more information.